we are ENWEALTH stands for Enabling Wealth for a Better Tomorrow, and our vision is a lifetime of financial well-being and dignity. And that was me. You know, you look black even when you don't have cash. That was me some 14 years ago when we were starting ENWEALTH. And I'm here to tell us that the only time things start from the top is when you are digging either a big latrine or digging a grave. Everything else you start from where you are as you gradually build. Those things you are seeing on the wall there, they were our then servers. Those were servers. And with about 300,000 Kenya shillings, I had worked in about 3 companies, and I chose to quit where I was working, and I decided to start my own business. At that point, I wanted to start a business in the house, in my 2nd bedroom, and one of my friends called me in an evening and told me, he asked me, what do you want to do? I told him I'm starting a business consultancy in the bedroom. Then he told me, you are stupid. So I asked why. He told me companies that start in the bedrooms, they sleep. So that's how I left with 300,000, went to Vision Plaza, and got second-hand furniture from Mutindwa, 3 chairs about 3,000, tables around 4,000, and we filled the office at Vision Plaza. And that's how we began. But something important is we chose to acknowledge God as one who gives us ability to do what we do. To date, we do that. And when it comes to matters integrity, we are saying we are first accountable to Him who has given us the breath of life. He who watches over us daily. He who, after the journey of life, will be accountable to. I realize that once you are consciously intentional about that, you'll be willing to pay the cost. Even if the devil is appointed as your auditor. Like it happened in the case of Job. He who is the accuser of brethren, he still gave a clean opinion. God was asking Job, God was asking the devil, have you seen my servant? And as such, I want to say that values only gain value to the extent of the cost we are willing to pay. Otherwise, they just remain written statements on the wall. And part of the sustainability pillars in business into the future is going to be emotional intelligence and integrity. And in my view, integrity is part of a subset of emotional intelligence. Because it's intuitive intelligence. So how do you preserve value sustainably? And why I say so is that the future generation we are having, the Gen Zs and the millennials, they want authentic leadership. And if you demonstrate that, you will have them as your customers. And so, those are our values: care, trust, integrity, innovation. And so integrity to us is within care as well. And that's our board, and we are privileged this morning to have Director Jen Kilonso, who you have already heard, and those are other board members. Now, I intentionally put this here because unless 2 people or 3 agree, they cannot work together. So integrity in organizations has to start from the top. And therefore, from a governance perspective, we had to be intentional in choosing people who are aligned in terms of our mission or value system. We're also putting up a private debt fund, which will be launching in the near future, and that's our impact fund. And we are deeply concerned about the cost of credit within the SME ecosystem that accounts more than 70% of our GDP together with our employment. Yet in some part of fintech lending ecosystems, they are borrowing as high as 80%. which is a worrisome situation. We play in pension, insurance, and also investments. We have money market, and my colleagues are seated there in terms of money market. And from where you saw that, this is coming up, will be done by June this year. This is and we have in total, we are looking after a portfolio of about 100 billion Kenya shillings. We're in Mauritius, we're in Uganda, and we're in Kenya. We have a foundation that pushes entrepreneur, that is championing economic transformation, outreach and missions. Someone was telling me, I saw you, there was recently an open air we had, we partnered with a couple of churches on Gong Road. And if you saw there was street praise next to something there called Quiver, we were the one behind it. And we wanted to raise something else. And we're not going to stop, we're going to do it again. And we're going to do it again. And next time we hope we can ask them. We have about 300 kids in high school, estimate that we pay school fees for. Usually, mainly, we have a bias towards orphans across the country. And we have the licensing, and that's our licensing. So quickly, let me just in 4 minutes, and then I'm done. Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 to 24. Whatever you do, you say whatever. Yes, whatever. It means you are cooking, you're cooking for your children, whatever. You're washing utensils, whatever. Work at it with all your heart. So it means the heart has to be neat. And why the heart is that service are heart issues. He says, guard your heart, for out of which the issues of life happen. And work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord. So once you are aware who you are accountable to, then your loyalty and alignment will begin from up. He who watches over us day by night and night. And not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. And this reward may not only be in eternity, this reward will also come in where you are serving. It is the Lord Christ, Jesus Christ, that we are serving. I don't want to speak into this, but there is a lot of pressure that is making people to compromise and to trade their identity, to trade their Christian values because of issues of greed, pride, control. The global issues are really pushed. They are choking our faith in the marketplace. And so I share a few things that I would say has helped me or helped us as an organization to live our values. One is that we have chaplaincy within the organization. And chaplaincy, I said, we can be so committed as an organization in terms of leadership, in terms of value system. But how about the people we hire? Because those people we don't just hire them as Christians. No, in fact, as a matter of fact, we don't hire necessarily born again. We hire people for competency. That's our principle. But we may not be there when they are transacting with our customers. So what we did is that we put in place a chaplaincy program to be able to help us be discipled on heart issues, to be aligned to the value system within the organization. And this then has continued to shape our character. We invest in terms of chaplaincy, deals with character, and then of course helps us in terms of credibility. And of course, this has translated to, we also invest quite a number of programs to build a competency framework within our organization. What this has translated to is conviction, shared conviction within our staff, which then translates to commitment and loyalty to our value system and plain consistency. So much so that some time back I was traveling from Sotik. I received one call in an evening. This is a friend in the industry who knew me, and he says, Simon, I have an 800 million fund I want to give you. But you know, the trustees want something. I told them, but I also know that you don't give. but I'm just checking if you have changed. So I said, first, I haven't changed, but I need to meet you. And I needed to meet him so that I can be able to explain why I haven't changed and to explain why. Because people don't buy what or how, people buy why. Okay, so often we are selling what or how, but it's more important to sell why. Because it's in why that you have loyalty. So I met him. I remember another time we had bills, so many. At that point I was earning like around maybe 50,000 per month. I had not paid rent for 3 months. And often when you haven't paid rent and there's no food as a man, normally what you do, you leave very early and come late. Because the issues in the house also will be confronting you with big eyes. Then we got a project of 800,000 and we had started the work, and this guy comes, he was the chairman of the board of trustees. We have raised the invoice and he says, I want to come and see you in the office. So he comes in the office, he checks on me, and so I thought he's bringing us our check. Those days they used to bring checks. Now he tells me, before we pay you, the board needs something. I told them, sorry, could you go and return our invoice? He looked at me and he said, can you pray with me to be like you? I told him, no. How about I pray with you to be like someone else that I know? Yeah. And Paul said, be imitators of Christ. And so I prayed with him. And one of the things that the benefits an organization can derive out of ethics, and this consistency, conviction, commitment, and consistency, is that when values have consistency, it will translate into culture. And culture will translate into brand. And brand will give you market share. And I have seen that. So much so, this is a performance evaluation we had with one of our clients, is a 6 billion fund. And we got a rating of 96%. 96%. And the feedback we got is as what is given there in 2 minutes. And this is attributed to professionalism, duty of care, timeliness, honesty. And and as a result of this, they increased our fees up. We didn't ask for it. So, values have value. They create value sustainably. This is my last slide. From the ethics perspective, we need to have a shift in the mindset. There was a day I was sending a tender, and in my brain I was like, hey, this organization is government agency, they'll be asking for money. Then I had a thought, it was a conviction in my heart, why are you escorting this tender with an expectation of corruption? Because as a man thinketh, so he is. But we'll also be required to be courageous. But also we need to build sustainable infrastructure through which we can cohesively manage and mitigate issues of ethics. And we need also to shift your social capital. Within government, we need to network high up there. There are people who genuinely want the best for our country. We need to network with them. And then finally, be obedient to what God puts in your heart. God bless you.